Many thanks for staying with us. Again, we're being joined by Rukayat Saju Dindi, legal practitioner. She's joining us via Zoom to talk about service courts and high debt profile in Nigeria, effect on women and vulnerable groups. Good morning, Rukayat. Can you hear us clearly?
Good morning. I can hear you loud and clear. I hope you can hear me as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very wonderful smile on your face. So we're going to have a good time discussing this particular topic.
Thank you.
All right. So my first question will be, or scratch that, how would you describe Nigeria's service court and high debt profile currently? What is the situation report? Just an overview.
Thank you very much for that opening question. It is my pleasure to be here. By virtue of my training as a lawyer, when the topic of service costs comes to mind, I was wondering in what respect. But when I saw the high national debt profile, definitely I'm aware this is in respect of national and economic issue. Therefore, the service cost basically here is referring to what we consider as downsizing. That's reduction in the staff strength, in the employment rate, and equally in the welfare of even the engaged staff. So service cost affects virtually every area, every area of economy, and invariably, women and the vulnerable group are the most affected. By the research and then the submission of the National Bureau of Statistics, our national debt stands today at 149.27 trillion naira, equivalent of 97.2 US dollars. 97.2 billion US dollar. This certainly is a no mean feat. It's not a joke. It's a huge debt on the nation. So let me do by way of recap. When we talk about service costs, it refers to downsizing by reducing the staff strength, capacity, and even the welfare of the so-called engaged staff. And national debt refers to that debt that the government owes its creditor, whether internally or externally, which I said by the National Bureau of Statistics stands at 149 over 149 trillion Nigerian naira. So this is a huge one. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. But again, you did mention numbers, and we want to understand the inference from the numbers that you are mentioning. What is the situation of the issue on ground in Nigeria? Are they more service courts? What is the trend? And should Nigerian workforce be scared? We want to understand the inference from the numbers.
Well, when we look at it from the private angle, certainly they are the most affected by this huge national debt that the nation is going through. Because when you look at it year in, year out, the government still manages to absorb, perhaps at a very reduced quantum, people into government services. But for the private sector, in most cases, except for the few ones in the tech industries, in innovation sector, and then some of the hubs, so you will see that the effect is really telling on the establishment, especially the private sectors. So it's obvious. It's obvious. So people are no longer getting employment. Even the ones in the employment, the security is not really guaranteed. And when you look at the pay, the take home it's not taking any people, most of the employees anyway. So they tend to either tune in resignation, or they look for the Japa syndrome as an alternative way out. So these are the perspectives, these are the things, the trend now. So the trend now. I hope that clarifies it.
Okay, so if I got you correctly, you're saying that this service cut trend has come to stay, both in the public and the private sector, and we will even see a higher prevalence as time goes on. If that is the case,
Yes.
is service cut a violation of the human rights? Because it is expected, at least for government, to be able to cater to the social needs of the populace. So is it in violation of basic human rights?
Thank you so much for bringing up this particular question. It's really very germane. When you consider the provision of Nigerian Constitution, especially the Chapter 2 of Constitution, which deal with the national fundamental objective and directive policy of Nigeria, this particular provision made mention of provision of social amenities, infrastructural development, economic development, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, the same constitution says we cannot even tackle our government or take them up for not providing these amenities. So the law itself, and then the constitution especially, which is our ground norm, is self-contradictory. When there are clear provisions which enables the government, or which presupposes that the government should do certain things, especially giving basic infrastructures, providing employment, giving educational support, giving economic empowerment, giving social and health infrastructure needs of its citizens. And then the same constitution still go ahead and say these are not justiciable. It means you cannot take up your government for failing to provide for the citizens in that respect to court, and then to say, oh, we want to challenge them for not giving us these basic needs as enshrined in the constitution. So this is where the dilemma is actually. So the dilemma is the constitution make provision for all these amenities, employment, education, health, social and infrastructural needs of citizens. But in another section, it says these are not justiciable. You cannot sue any government for not providing any of these basic amenities. So we are handicapped. And until there is a legislative intervention to see to reverse the law that says we cannot challenge our government for not providing this one, I think they will still be taking us for a ride.
All right. How, or rather, why is it that this economic trend, has a lot of, affects more of women and vulnerable groups? Why is that an issue?
Yeah, it's an issue because, as women, we have a lot of roles to play in the society. First of all, our role as wives, as mothers, as workforce, and as responsible members of Nigerian society. So when you look at it, the role is really very expansive, to the extent that when in some homes, especially given the high inflationary rate now, when the woman complains, like the amount of money being given for upkeep is not sufficient, you see the men flaring up. I mean, I'm talking in domestic realm now. So the same thing with our role as mothers. When we are giving something, take care of the children, take care of the home front, this money is not taking you anywhere. You enter market, inflation has already even eaten the money, that you cannot buy basic needs with huge sum of money. So these are the areas where women are mostly more affected than their male counterparts. Because as women, we are not only Nigerian citizens, we are equally homemakers, we are nation builders, we are equally responsible members of Nigerian society. So we tend to do more of our shopping, of going to the market, of taking care of all these needs. At the end of the day, when the family needs are not met, it results into some sort of emotional disturbances. It results into some sort of emotional and health or even psychological issues, which invariably affect our productivity in the workspace. Because we have to ensure that we have a clear mind, clear psychological state, balanced state of mind to be able to function optimally. So these are more affected when when the economy is not too stable, or when there is huge national debt, and then
All right. So, from a legal point of view, what do you think government needs to do to help, women and other vulnerable groups, economically, given the fact that a huge debt profile is, tugging on government being able to take care of the social needs of the people, especially the vulnerable groups and women. So, what should they do to mitigate this challenge? Talking about government now.
so from the government perspective now, you know that no nation can incur debt without the sanctioning of National Assembly, basically. So our law says that some of these debts cannot even be incurred or absorbed or taken without the consent or without the approval and ratification of the National Assembly. They are the lawmakers, they are our legislators. So when you have gone through certain things over and over and again, and we are not getting the desired result, if I may take us back a little bit, national debt ordinarily is supposed to be debt incurred to provide some basic infrastructures, to take care of the national needs, and to fulfill the welfare of the citizens of a particular country. But over time, we have seen that the trend is that when the government, in particular in Nigeria, incur some of these debts, whether nationally or internationally, have they been using or channeling the debt for the purpose for which they are meant? The answer is really very obvious. In most cases, corruption and lack of transparency and lack of accountability culture in Nigeria, so we are further challenged. Therefore, to forestall these issues, we have to go back to the drawing board, right from proper probity and accountability. And that demands the legislature in Nigeria, the National Assembly in particular, to ensure that before rubber stamping or sealing any request by the government of the day for a debt, there should be convincing reasons. Number one. Number two, they can equally insist that let us adopt our homegrown solutions to solve our homegrown problems. Therefore, there can be that resolution of National Assembly insisting that let us grow our own manufacturing sector. We are an agrarian country. Our land, they are very viable and productive. Let us stick to what we have to get what we need actually, and to reduce some of these unnecessary debt, especially when they are not asset backed, when there is no proven record that some of the successive debts that we have ever taken in the past have been used for the purpose for which they are meant. And of course, we continue to service all these debts, right from IMF, World Bank, and in most cases, some of the recovery self, when they are made, they eventually not being utilized fully. for the purpose of developing the country. It still ends up in the hands and pockets of some few individuals, thereby impoverishing the nation the more. So these are really serious concerns, and with legislative intervention, with determination on the side of the executive and excuse me, even the judiciary, we can all get there. We can get to a comfortable level with looking inward for our own IGR, ensure that we have our own grown solutions to our own grown problem, look seriously into our manufacturing sector, and then ensure that there are legislative backings to all these proposals to make them work and viable, thereby reducing our need for external debt. Thank you.
All right, it's interesting that you mentioned the National Assembly in your last submission. So if you were to advise policymakers, what would be some of the economic safeguards that you would advise them to put in place to ensure that, these service cuts trajectory does not hurt women and other vulnerable groups?
Thank you. Already we have some of these laws in place. However, I think implementation of the law has always been a huge challenge in the country. So we have laws protecting the right of the children. We have the laws protecting the right of the disabilities or disabled people in Nigeria. We have laws safeguarding the right of the citizens and then the women in particular. So, but however, when it comes to economic issue of this magnitude, we still have to look for a way to ensure that we make this law, the laws that are hitherto in existence but moribund, we have to reactivate them. It's not about promulgating more and more laws, but about making the existing laws really women-friendly, friendly to the vulnerable groups and then the people living with disabilities, including the young children. So we need to just look inward again and ensure that we make some of these laws really viable. So that is where the key issue is. It's not about making more and more and more laws, rather than making the existing one really working. When we do that, then women will certainly contribute their quota to the economic growth and development of this nation, because history abounds that they have been doing that in the past, and we still have some of these remarkable women, including my host. You left your home early hour to attend to this national discourse, and I'm sure you must have done your bit before leaving the home front. So these are the things. Women, we are ready to give our unwavering support and contribution. Just give us the enabling environment. That is on the side of the government. If I may just extend the question further, on the side of what we can do, thank God for technology now. As women, as my women, as people of women and nation builders, home builders, let us leverage technology. So we have the space in the tech is really very wide and it's really leveled. So it depends on our ability to pinch our tentacle on the area or aspect of the tech that we want to explore, to give services and products, or to showcase our talent and then give to the nation so that we can explore and then benefit maximally from this. Another way is that we have to be really very innovative in our approach. We have to be flexible and move with the trend, and we have to explore our internal gifts. If you are gifted the gift of speaking, please explore it. People are looking for good speakers out there. You are gifted the gift of skill in cooking, in kono making, in bead making, in henna making, and so on and so forth. People are doing that, and they are showcasing all these talents using tech and innovation to deliver some of these services and then to stay above the poverty line. So that is my submission. Thank you.
Rukayat Sajudindi, thank you so much for your very robust analysis and wonderful quality insights.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for still staying with us up until now. Don't go anywhere. New Day continues with more quality content after now.